Okay, we're going to talk about tuning the mandolin now. And somebody once said that if you play the mandolin for 30 years, you tune it for 15 and you play out of tune for 15. But it's true, it takes a lot to tune a mandolin and get it really right. As I said earlier, there's 2 notes for every one. So you have 2 E strings, 2 A strings, 2 D strings, and 2 G strings. So it's tuned exactly the same as a violin, but it's twice as hard to tune because of all these pairs. So there are several ways to go about tuning, and I'm just going to march you through them, each of them, because they each have their pluses and minuses. Of course, a lot of us are using electronic tuners these days, and I'm also one of those fellas. Got my little Diodario tuner here. I like it a lot. It keeps everything at 440. You always know that you're getting a 440 pitch off of that. But they're not perfect, you know, and I think that there's a real danger these days of people tuning with their eyes rather than with their ears. And when I think back of the old days of how in tune some of those old records are, before the invention of these things, I realized that those are skills that we should check in on and make sure that we don't forget how to tune with our ears. But, you know, so we know that this is the A string, the second string, and I usually get that string first. I don't know why, it's just A 440. And I, you know, tune that thing so that it's in tune with it. If you go flat, I like to always tune up to the note rather than down. Tony Rice taught me this, that bringing the tension of the string up is going to actually settle the string. The tension in the string settles towards the gear. Whereas if you come down to the pitch, there's a chance that there might be some tension caught either behind the bridge or behind the nut. And as you play, that tension will release and the string will actually go flat. But by coming up to that note, you're pulling all the tension out of the wire, and it's inclined to be a little more stable. So tuning with an electronic tuner is real simple. You simply match up, you know that's a G string, you go until the G string is green, the visual is green, or the little cable comes up to the center. But doing that on the mandolin is tricky because you've got 2 strings. So when you pluck, you think you're plucking just one of the G strings, and actually you're hitting the other G string a little bit. And so if it's out of tune, they're both going to sound out of tune because you're hearing that other string, you're hearing the other G note resonate. So what I figured out to do is what's called a rest stroke. I pluck the string with the pick, and I let the pick rest on the other G string. So I'm playing the lowest of the pair, the one closer, when I say low, I mean the one closest to your nose. So I'm playing what you'd call the top G string, and I'm letting the pick rest on the other string after I pluck it. And that mutes one of the G strings. And I look at the tuner, I bring it below the actual pitch, and then I bring it up. Then, to get the other G string in tune, I pull the pick the other way. I actually angle it backwards so that it's now resting on the G string that's closer to my nose, the one I was just tuning. And I do the same. Bring the pitch down and bring it up to that, so that that note is really in tune. And I usually have to go back and check the first one again. The other thing you can do is if you think that one of the pairs is really in tune, then what I like to do is bring the other of the pair really down low, play them separately, and gradually bring that second G note, G string up until there's no vibrating. If something's out of tune, you'll hear this. You actually can hear the beats wiggle like that. And as you get closer to pitch, the beating goes away. But isolating the pairs of strings with your right hand is really essential to all of this. And of course you go through and do that for each string. And with an electronic tuner you will end up being pretty close. But I still like to check things. What happened just then was there was a little bit of tension. I was starting to bring the string up and there was something was caught in the nut and it sort of slid up beyond the pitch. So I don't bring it down to pitch. I bring it way down below pitch so that I pull that tension out of the nut. Always tuning up to the note. We're pretty close now. The next thing I'll do is I'll check my octaves. This is the A string. This is an A note, 2nd fret on the low string. I'll check those two and make sure they're in tune. And then I'll do the same with the E. I'll check it with the 2nd fret on the D string. Those are octaves, and I'll make sure those are in tune. So sometimes there's a tiny bit of adjusting. Even though the tuner might say that the open strings are in tune, mandolins don't note exactly perfectly. Some are pretty close, but particularly if you have really high action, when you fret a note, it may want to sound a little bit sharp. So there's some manipulating that has to happen in order to adjust that to get it perfect. But, you know, are we ever really perfect? Probably not. The other thing to check on your mandolin is the note at the 12th fret. The 12th fret is the middle point between the bridge and the nut. And it's really important that the bridge be in the right place. You'll see a lot of first-time mandolinists who just got an instrument from a music store, and because it wasn't set up properly, the bridge is in the wrong place. And so the whole fingerboard doesn't note properly. And this can be really frustrating. It can make your mandolin sound horrible. And you think you're a bad player, but actually it's the instrument. So what you want to try to achieve is that at the 12th fret, you are in tune with what's called the harmonic. We're going to get into how to do those, but basically you should be exactly an octave. I'm actually sounding a tiny bit flat right now. Not bad. The 12th fret has to be the same as the open. And again, if you're afraid to move your bridge around yourself, I would take it to somebody and make sure that it's noting properly. Couple other things to check as far as intonation. So I showed you this octave, the open A string and the low A. The other one to check is the open A and this A. On the 5th fret, 1st string, you have an A. You can check that octave, and you can go right across all the pairs and check them all. The D, open 3rd string, should match up with the D at the 5th fret, 2nd string. And the open G should match the 5th fret on the D string. Those are all G notes. Once you get really good at harmonics, you can check the harmonics. But if you're a beginner, this might be something that you're not quite used to. A harmonic is when you just barely touch the string. You're not actually fretting it. You're just lightly touching it at the 12th fret. And if you hit the low string at the 7th fret, that's also a harmonic. Same harmonic. 12th fret, 3rd string, 7th fret, 4th string. And you can go across now to the 7th fret 3rd string and 12th fret 2nd string. And those are also harmonic, same harmonics. So you can tune to those. See what I'm doing? I'm trying to make the beating go away. Pretty close. Never perfect, of course, but we do the best we can.